Okay, I know all of you are so excited with the topic of our music for today, which is the music of the Romantic period. But before that, let us now come to tackle first our classroom rules. So, okay, let's have number one. Listen when your teacher is talking. So, whatever instructions that the teacher is giving, you have to listen very carefully. Number two, follow the directions or the instructions very quickly, very efficient as possible as you can. Number three, you have to respect others, you have to respect yourself, and also likewise respect our school. Number four, you have to raise your hand when you have something to say in the class, when you have some ideas, questions. You have to raise your hand in order for the teachers, for you to be identified or to be recognized. And number five, be safe. I know all of us is suffering from this pandemic, so please be safe, be kind, and be honest. Be respectful also, be responsible. As I'm always saying, be safe. So, to start with our topic, let us have first the most essential learning competencies. This is explain the plot, musical, and theatrical elements of an opera after watching video samples. So that's our most essential learning competency. We also have to identify the specific objectives. Number one, identify the components of an opera. Number two, describe the elements of an opera. And number three, show understanding on components of an opera. As I've said earlier, we're going to discuss on our music class the vocal music of the Romantic period. To start with, let us have our first adventure, which is the word search. Now, direction or the instruction is locate the word or words that are related to the music of the Romantic period. They may be arranged vertically or horizontally. Match them with a corresponding question below. So are you guys ready? Let's try find the words. Number one, it is the book that the composer and the librettist put together. How do you call it? That is what we call score. Did you find it? Okay, let's move on to number two. A solo singing part sung by the principal character. This is a solo singing part sung by the principal character. That is what we call an aria. Who got it right? Congratulations. Let's have number three. It is usually characterized by elaborate costumes, scenery, and choreography. Okay, that is what we call an opera. Who got it right? Let's move on to number four. It is the lowest male voice. I know every one of you know different types of voices. So this is the lowest male voice. That is what we call bass. Okay, so let's move on to the last question. It is one or more singers performing without musical accompaniment. So someone or anyone can sing without musical accompaniment. That is what we call an a cappella. So who got it right? If you got it right, the 5 words, then let us move on to our next adventure. Moving on with our topic for today, let us have the vocal music of the Romantic period as our main topic for today. Now, digging the background of the music of the Romantic period, it all started from the history of 1820 to 1900. So during this time, this is the transition between the classical period into Romantic period. So continued the use of the musical forms of the preceding classical era. So parang na-divert ito from the classical one into the romantic one, where the emotional intensity associated with romanticism was already presented to us by the work of the known composers of all time, Mozart and Beethoven, who greatly has a particular contribution on the music of the Romantic period. Now, what are the characteristics of the Romantic music? Number one is the use of extreme expressions and emotions. So, may bigat. There are emotions, there are expressions. So, during this Romantic period, the music allows them to express deeply their emotions, their feelings. Ano po? So, nagkaroon ng tinatawag na romantic expressionism. A freedom of composing with different types of feelings, halo-halo, anger, happiness, pride, continuity. So this is the expansion also of the what we call an orchestra. So hindi lang siya ang orchestra before on the classical period, hindi lang siya ginamit as part of just a simple music. So ngayon, naging accompaniment na rin siya during the Romantic period. Another characteristic of the Romantic period, or the music of the Romantic period, is that it gives emphasis on the lyrical melodies. In connection with the literature, they use love as the subject, nature, the religion, and the nationalism. These are the main themes of each play. The themes of this, what we call musical elements, has been combined into one to promote, to promote, yung kanina di ba sinabi ka, may laman, to promote main theme, to promote subject, they uses this love, nature, religion, and nationalism. What is an opera? Anyone could wonder, what is really opera means? Now, let us dig deeply the real meaning of an opera. What does opera means? So it became increasingly popular during the Romantic period. It was introduced already during the classical period, but then was has been popular during the Romantic period for using subjects, particularly expressing their feelings, their thoughts, emotions into the play. This goes with the story told by the composers through music while using the words of the librettist. So, they work closely together to tell the story. So, behind the stage play, behind the so-called play, there is really a message relaying to whatever subject it is. So, may laman, may nakapaloob na mensahe yung kanilang stage act. So, the book and the composer and librettist put together to form a so-called score. Yun ang ginawa sa loob ng isang opera. So, opera is not just as simple as opera. Opera has a lot of elements. Binuhay from the classical period to Romantic period. Binuhay ang salitang opera, ginawang ganap. To give meaning, to give expression of romanticism during 1820 to 1900s. The score has the musical words and ideas to help the performer tell the story. So, may story. Hindi lang siya ordinary singing, ordinary show. There is something that the characters or the actors or actresses playing the act has message to tell to the audience itself. Okay. What are the components of an opera? Let us unlock these terminologies or components of an opera. Help me find what does it means. Let's start with the text of an opera. This is the text. Ito yung mensahe. Ito yung kasulatan. Librettist and the composer work closely together to tell the story. This is what we call, from the word librettist, it is libretto. So, that is what we call the dialogue, the lines, the script of an opera. Number 2, the book that the composer and librettist put together. Sinabi ko na to kanina. Has the musical notes, words, and ideas to help the performers tell the story. This is what we call the score, one of the major element of an opera. Let's have this one, the declamatory singing used in the prose parts and dialogues of an opera. different roles in operas are created, taking into account different types of voices. So, the role of a singer is for him to be able to showcase, different ranges, colors, artistic voices in this particular component. That is what we call recitative or recitative. Next one is, this is actually one of the most remembered part of an opera. Why? Because this is a part where a soloist or a solo performer will sing this on the middle or on the last part of an opera or the play, and then ito yung magbibigay ng diin, magbibigay ito ng sinasabing remembering moment for an audience, because this is the part where it takes the performer to showcase, to tell the message, the expressionism, that what we call before romanticism. So that is what we call an aria. Next, we have the main division of an opera. So what are the main division of an opera? There are acts. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, or maybe a lot of acts. This is the division of the play, the division of the different sequences of an opera. We have also the setting or the play. Siyempre, in a stage play, there should be a scene. Okay. So, kailangan yun. This is where the characters played different kinds of talents, kinds of plays, acts, depending on the different scene used in an opera. Other components also, we have the duet, the trio, and other small ensemble. We also have the chorus. And the most important element also or component that is needed on an opera is, of course, the orchestra. Kasi ang orchestra, ito yung bubuhay ng tunog. They will be back-upping the background music of the whole play. So, ito yung bubuhay. Ito yung gagawa ng elemento ng tunog. So, these are the important elements, components of an opera. We have the libretto, the score, the scene, the acts, the aria, and we also have the different components. Most essentially, the orchestra. Are you having fun with our MAPE adventure? Now, moving on, let us now have the musical terms used in an opera. We have an a cappella. An a cappella is one or more singers performing a song which do not have a song accompaniment or a musical or instrumental accompaniment. So, ito yung purely voice singing. Walang ibang halo kung hindi boses lamang. Next, we have the cantabile. Cantabile, or this is the singing style. If it is melodic, homophonic, or monophonic. This is what we call cantabile. The style of the singing on the opera. We have also the capo or capo. Capo is the head, the beginning, the opening of what we call an opera or the stage play. This is an opening. If we have an opening, we also have the closing section of an opera or the appended to a movement or song. This is what we call the coda. The coda, the closing part of an opera. Now, we have the dolce. Dolce is a sweetly voice from a certain scene or act of an opera. And the falsetto. Falsetto is a weaker and more airy voice, usually in higher pitch ranges. So, iba ito dun sa sinasabi nating head tone. Head tone is the air is coming from the last part of the nose na parang iniipit. That is what we call the head voice. While the falsetto is dito ang ipit. weaker or more airy. Kaya ang nangyayari sa kanya, parang mas mataas ng konti ang falsetto as compared to the head tone. And we have the glissando. Glissando is sliding quickly between two notes. So, ito yung nag-slide ng mabilisan. Parang nag-slide, parang mabilis na pumasok yung music. So, what we call that? Glissando. And the passaggio. Passaggio is the part of the singing voice where register transition occur. May pumapasok, may transition, merong pagpalit. Ito yung tinatawag na parts where voice are changing. Ito yung passaggio. We also have the rubato. Rubato is the slight speeding up or slowing down of a tempo of a piece on the discretion of the soloist. So, ito ang mabilisan. Slight lang, pero medyo mabagal pumasok sa ilalim. So, that is what we call rubato. These are the parts of an opera, okay? Now, we have the tessitura. Tessitura is the most comfortable singing range of a singer. So, ito yung parang normal singing voice, parang normal na delivery of the music during the stage play of an opera. Tessitura. We also have the vibrato or yung tinatawag na parang pagninig ng boses. Rapidly repeated, slight pitch variation during a sustained note. Yung medyo sa last part ng line, medyo nguminig ang boses. That is what they call vibrato. And that's it. So, how are you in our adventure formatic class? Are you having fun? If that's so, let us continue with our activity. I will be playing video clips of the different opera. Okay? So, you are going to observe what are the differences or the similarities between the two. One is the Gretchen Spinrade by Franz Schubert, and the other one is made by our very own Nicanor Abelardo. The title is Mutia ng Pasig. So, what you're going to do on the backs, we have the melody, the rhythm, the tone quality, and the texture. You have to identify what are the similarities and their distinctive differences on how do they play an opera. So, hanapin nyo yung kanilang pagkakaiba at pagkakapareho. So, listen to this. What are your observations after viewing or watching the video clips? Did you find differences or similarities? Let's take a look on the first one. The one made by Franz Schubert, we have the melody is high pitch. Bakit siya high pitch? Because usually in an opera, masyadong matataas ang delivery of the tonality. We have also the rhythm is very slow. Mabagal ang rhythm. Likewise with the melody, high pitch pero mabagal. The tone quality is dramatic. Okay? And then the texture is homophonic. Okay? So, on the other video, which is the Mucha ng Pasig by Nicanor Abelardo, the melody is the same, high pitch, because as I've said earlier, when in delivering of or the delivery for the music in an opera, pag babae yung kumakanta, medyo mataas ang kanilang pitch. Ano po? But the rhythm is slow. The tone quality is also likewise dramatic soprano. And the texture is likewise homophonic. So, almost the same silang pareho. Parehas ba tayo ng inyong mga observations? Have you find it hard or have you find it a little easy? So if you do so, let us move on with our next activity. To sum up with our topic for today, which is the vocal music of the Romantic period, I want you to think in relation to what we are experiencing right now. What did you feel? What emotions were evoked, expressed in the music during listening, knowing what are the elements, the components of an opera? Which style do you prefer? The one that higher pitch, the lower pitch, dramatic, expressionism, or a so-called the neutral type? And lastly, what are their similarities and differences? There are similarities, mostly similar to each other, because most of the time, expressionism and the romanticism are being delivered in a very high pitch, with high tonality, with a dramatic way of expressing their thoughts, their feelings. Going back to our first topic, that during Romantic period, most of the singers or the play or the opera express them. They have a theme. They have subject to whatever act they are showcasing. And lastly, how does music affect lives in times of pandemic? So this is very important. How? How does music? Sa panahon ngayon, it's so hard for us to understand what is really happening. But because I believe that music is really an essential tool for us to be calm, to be to have the spirit to think what to do. Music has a great influence in every lives of an individual. Music also serves as an outlet for us to express whatever sorrow, loneliness, or pain we have. During this pandemic, music can also be a big help to each and everyone. How'd you find our Adventures Formatic class? Is it thrilling? Is it fun? Now, let's have a post assessment for our topic for today. Instruction is, identify what is being asked by each statement. Write your answers on a piece of paper. Are you ready? Okay, let's do this. Number 1. It is a declamatory singing used in the prose parts and dialogues of an opera. Number 2. It is rapidly repeated slight pitch variation during a sustained note to give a richer and more varied sound. Number 3. It is the text of an opera. Librettist and the composer work together closely to tell the story. Number 4. It is the middle male voice, lies between the tenor and the bass, or what we call the normal voice of a male. And number 5, this solo singing part by the character is what the public will remember best after the stage play or an opera. Okay? So, there you go. Let us now check your answers. Okay. Number 1, it is a declamatory singing used in the prose parts and dialogue of an opera. The answer is recitative. Number 2, it is a rapidly repeated slight pitch variation during a sustained note to give a richer and more varied sound. The answer is vibrato. Number 3, it is the text of an opera. Librettists and the composers work closely together to tell the story. This is libretto. Number 4, it is the middle male voice lies between bass and the tenor voices. It is the common male voice. The answer is baritone. Number 5, this solo singing part by the principal character is what the public will remember best when leaving the opera house. The answer is an aria. So, did you get all the correct answers? If you did so, good job! And for your assignment, write down on your journal, my journal entry. On your journal, write at least 5 sentences you have learned and made your interest on the lesson. I will be checking that on our next class. Okay? I hope everyone learned a lot from this lesson. The music of the Romantic period, particularly the vocal music of the Romanticism. We have associated the music on our history, tradition, on our daily lives. I guess music will really give a big impact on the lives of many. I hope that everyone will stay safe, walang lalabas, kung hindi, importante ang inyong mga pupuntahan. Stay safe, everyone. This is Rai Pimentel, your MAPE teacher, na nagsasabi lagi sa MAPE, learning is by moving, and through movement, we learn. Goodbye!